It's Wednesday, and you're listening to Warlock Wednesday on Ehnotherpodcast.com.
And hello everyone, welcome to another Warlock Wednesday, the Warlock Hour with Rayzor. Got a lot of things I want to cover, and I'm trying to do it in as quick as time as possible. I hope you're not minding the longer podcasts. I know that when it's just one person talking, sometime it might get annoying, and some of the stuff I say might not interest you. But I'm saying it anyways because for those people that want to hear it and are listening and enjoying the podcast, we appreciate it, and I love it. So keep listening, and we're going to get right into things with comic book releases. I'm probably going to come up with some intros to maybe my segments here, because I seem to keep my segments pretty straightforward. So anybody listening out there who has any musical talent, maybe you can help me. If not, it just might take me some time to work on it. That's all. So anyways, comic book releases from DC this week. We've got Batgirl number 18, Batman number 18, Katana number 2, and Suicide Squad number 18. Small run for DC this week. They're printing off quite a few second printing issues and third printing issues, so that's why there's only 4 from DC that I chose this week. From Marvel, I do have more. I have 6. First 5, I'm going to say first, obviously. But the last one I want to talk a little bit about, so I'm saving it for last. So first from Marvel, Age of Ultron number 2, Secret Avengers number 2, Uncanny X-Men number 3, Wolverine number 1, and Ultimate Comics Wolverine number 1. And this Ultimate Comics Wolverine number 1 is a part 1 of 4. It's an origin story of Ultimate Wolverine. So that's what that is. Now the last one I want to mention is Thunderbolts number 6. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning it last, and normally I wouldn't even mention this one, but this is a comic book that's not doing so well. It's not getting a lot of readers. I haven't picked it up myself. It doesn't interest me. The only interesting character that I've seen that's in the comic book is Deadpool, but apparently Thunderbolts is not doing so well, and this could be a comic that gets canceled down the line. So I just wanted to mention it because there are comics that get canceled because they don't have the readership that other comics do. There's hundreds of X-Men comics and hundreds of Wolverine comics and hundreds of Batman comics and hundreds of Superman comics because they have the readership. To continue being a comic, you have to have the readership, and Thunderbolts seems to be waning in that respects. So in moving on to the independents, just a few this week from Dark Horse Comics, we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 9, number 19, and Star Wars number 3. From IDW Publishing, Ghostbusters number 2. And from Image Comics, Walking Dead number 108, which I believe is actually a reprinting. I'm not sure if that's the new issue. Let me just take a quick peek here if that's a new one. I think that's a reprinting of 108. Just gonna scroll down here. Computer's being slow because I got so many windows open so that I can get to the news that I want to get to as quickly as possible without too many of these kinds of pauses. So, Walking Dead number 108 is not a reprinting. Sorry, I was thinking of something else when I was making sure I had all the comics down. So, Walking Dead number 108, that's from Image Comics. So that's your comic book releases for this week. We are going to move along here. I wanted to start with the comic book releases because I always do that first. I have some sad news, and I'm using the term used by my favorite podcasters, Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman on Hollywood Babylon, not a sponsor, and Tinseltown Stiffs. And in this respects, Canadian Town Stiffs, or something like that. This is a famous Canadian folk singer. His name is Stompin' Tom Connors. I grew up listening to him. He's basically from Canada and is a total pro-Canadian. Like, he was born in St. John's, New Brunswick. He grew up around in PEI, Prince Edward Island, and he's written many songs about many places in Canada, a lot of Ontario places. I believe he has a song for almost every city you can think of in Ontario. In fact, the city I'm from, he has a song called Sudbury Saturday Night. So that's pretty fantastic. But unfortunately, he passed away this past week at the age of 77 years old. He died of natural causes. I'm hoping that he went peacefully in his sleep, but they're not saying exactly. They're just saying natural causes. But apparently, he knew he was going to die, or as he got older, maybe he wrote this, but he wrote a letter to be published after his death. This is what his spokesman said. So the letter's been published, and I'm going to read it to you word for word, what he said, not stopping. Hello, friends. I want all my fans, past, present, or future, to know that without you, there would have not been any Stompin' Tom. It was a long, hard, bumpy road, but this great country kept me inspired with its beauty, character, and spirit, driving me to keep marching on and devoted to sing about its people, places that make Canada the greatest country in the world. I must now pass the torch to all of you to help keep the maple leaf flying high and be the patriot Canada needs now and in the future. I humbly thank you all one last time for allowing me in your homes. I hope I continue to bring a little bit of cheer into your lives from the work I've done. Sincerely, your friend always, Stompin' Tom Connors. So right now, at this point in time, I just want to take a little minute of silence to remember this great legend, and as Kevin Smith would say, a huge cauldron of wind for this man, especially if you're Canadian, especially if you're a hockey fan. And just a moment of silence here. And we're back. And now what I'd like to do is I've found out that you can play a little bit of copyrighted music with legal ramifications being nil on a few instances. We are not for profit. We're not making any money off of this yet. Hopefully one day down the road, maybe we will, but until we are not for profit. So we can use parodies, we can use different pieces of music that are not copyrighted, and we can use different things in different ways. However, we are allowed to play about 30 seconds of a song. So at this time, I'm going to play 30 seconds of Stompin' Tom's most famous song.
Hello out there, we're on the air, it's hockey night tonight. Tension grows, the whistle blows, and the puck goes down the ice. The goalie jumps and the players bump and the fans all go insane. Someone roars, Bobby scores at the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game.
So that's about it as far as I can play. I'm going to put a link in the description below that if you want to hear the whole song, you can do that. If not, then you've heard 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds because I wanted to play it safe, of one of the most famous songs that Stompin' Tom Connors ever written. I can't speak very well. I don't know why I'm doing this then if I can't speak very well. Anyways, one of the best songs, one of the most famous songs he's ever written, ever wrote, however I want to say that. And I just wanted to pay my respects to such a great legend and somebody that I grew up listening to due to my parents, and his songs were catchy and they were enjoyable. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring that up, and we're going to move on now. So moving on from the sad news to the money news. Basically, I'm going into the movies now. That's right. We are going to talk the opening weekends for new movies, and the top 10 movies from this past weekend are number 1, new movie, Oz the Great and Powerful. And not only is it number 1, it's a huge opening for this time of year. Not the biggest, but definitely huge compared to some of our last few weeks. It made $79.1 million locally, that's North America, and worldwide has made over $150 million already. That's after one weekend. So obviously this movie's bringing in the bank. That does not necessarily mean it's good, but I'm assuming that it is, because if people are going to see it, it's got to be good. But I guess we'll see next weekend when new movies open up and how much it drops off and what the staying power is. That's another indication of how good a movie is. So number 1, Oz the Great and Powerful at $79.1 million. Last week's number 1 drops down to number 2, Jack the Giant Slayer, with a measly 9.8. I say measly only because, 79.1 went to Oz, and when you drop almost $70 million to number 2, that's a measly 9.8, but I'd still take 10% of that. So Jack the Giant Slayer at 9.8. Then we get another little bit of a drop off with Identity Thief number 3 coming in at 6.3 million. Number 4, another new release, Dead Man Down at 5.3 million. That's the new Colin Farrell and Noomi Rapace movie. Snitch drops to 5th at 5 million. 21 and over drops from 3rd to 6th at 5 million, and the difference between Snitch and 21 and over is about $7,000. So Snitch had $7,000 more than 21 and over. Safe Haven holds steady at number 7 at 3.7 million. Silver Linings Playbook holds steady at number 8 with 3.6 million. Escape from Planet Earth drops from 6th to 9th at 3.2 million, and rounding out the top 10 from 5th all the way down to 10th, 3.1 million, The Last Exorcism Part 2. So that's your 10 movies from this past weekend, so that means we have to take a look at the new releases coming up this weekend. So that's coming out March 15th, and the 2 movies that are coming out are The Call, starring the ever-horrible actress Halle Berry, and the other movie coming out this week is The Incredible Burt Wonderstone, which is I'm looking forward to just because of the casting alone. You've got Steve Carell, Steve Buscemi, Jim Carrey, and Alan Arkin, and Olivia Wilde, all in the same movie. It's a comedy. It looks hilarious. Will it upset Oz the Great and Powerful from number 1? Battle of Magicians. Who knows? Guess we'll have to wait and see where the wizards lie at the end of it. So, moving on. Movie news. For any of you who have been paying attention to any gaming news, we have a new Tomb Raider. They released a new Tomb Raider movie, and that means they want to do a reboot for the movie. So they are working from the new, basically younger Lara Croft. It's not going to be Angelina Jolie anymore. They want to have a cohesive version of the franchise, they say. We don't want to see a film version that was a continuation of the old movies, but we want kind of a connection. What the producer here is saying, the story before she became Lara Croft, so it's more of like a prequel, but which is why they want a younger, but she's still going to be doing some action stuff. And a lot of people are speculating of who should play Lara Croft. The first name that popped into my head was Jennifer Lawrence. That's because I think I did this piece last week. You know what I did? So, I'm sorry, I'm repeating news. I guess there was not much else to that story, so we're going to stop that one there and move on to the next one. Alright. Little tired, that's all it is. Okay, so moving on. Couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I reported or read to you the news that the producers of the Bond films wanted Sam Mendes to come back to do Bond 24. They wanted him to direct the next one because Skyfall was the biggest Bond movie of all time, grossing over $1 billion worldwide. Unfortunately, Sam has turned it down. Here's the quote he has. "It has been a very difficult decision not to accept Michael and Barbara's very generous offer to direct the next Bond movie. Directing Skyfall was one of the best experiences of my professional life, but I have theater and other commitments, including productions of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and King Lear, that need my complete focus over the next year and beyond. I feel very honored to have been part of the Bond family and very much hope I have a chance to work with them again sometime in the future." So Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli, who are the producers of the Bond movies, want him back, but they hope that maybe in the future he might do a Bond, but right now he is too busy doing theater productions of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and King Lear. So scheduling conflicts basically make it impossible for him to direct the next Bond movie, so that means Bond needs a director, and hopefully a good one. Alright, moving on. the nominations for the MTV Movie Awards were announced on the 6th of March, which would have been last Wednesday. And the reason I'm mentioning this now is because obviously I record the show on Monday, and while you listen to it on Wednesday, it's already recorded, so I couldn't report this. So the nominees for Movie of the Year are Django Unchained, Silver Linings Playbook, Ted, The Avengers, and The Dark Knight Rises. Best Female Performance, Anne Hathaway, Mila Kunis, Jennifer Lawrence, Emma Watson, and Rebel Wilson. Best Male Performance, Ben Affleck, Bradley Cooper, Daniel Day-Lewis, Jamie Foxx, and Channing Tatum. How he gets nominated for Magic Mike, I don't know, but, this is the MTV Movie Awards, not the Oscars. Best Breakthrough Performance, Ezra Miller, Eddie Redmayne, Suraj Sharma, Quevenshane Wallace, and I know I'm saying that wrong, but the girl from Beasts of the Southern Wild, the little 9-year-old, and Rebel Wilson. Best Scared as Shit Performance, Jessica Chastain in Zero Dark 30, Alexandra Daddario in Texas Chainsaw, Martin Freeman in The Hobbit, Jennifer Lawrence in House at the End of the Street, and Suraj Sharma in Life of Pi. Best On-Screen Duo, Leonardo DiCaprio and Samuel L. Jackson for Django Unchained, Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence for Silver Linings Playbook, Marky Mark and Seth MacFarlane as Ted in Ted, Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo in The Avengers, and Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis in The Campaign. Best Shirtless Performance, which is a new award this year, handed out because we have too many actors out there, mostly men, as we know that the females don't like baring their breasts, mostly men, showing off their abs / chests and whatever. And the nominees are, and this is so crazy, okay, Christian Bale, obviously, Daniel Craig, obviously, Taylor Lautner, obviously, Channing Tatum, obviously. However, this last nominee is Seth MacFarlane, but not Seth MacFarlane, it's Ted in Ted. So Ted, because he's a teddy bear who doesn't wear a shirt, is nominated for Best Shirtless Performance. Alright, as I said, these are the MTV Movie Awards. Best Fight, Jamie Foxx versus the Candyland Henchman in Django Unchained, Daniel Craig versus Ola Rapace in Skyfall, Marky Mark versus Ted in Ted, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, and Jeremy Renner versus Tom Hiddleston in The Avengers, Christian Bale versus Tom Hardy in The Dark Knight Rises, and Best Kiss, and I think this is the first time in a very long time they do not have a same-sex kiss. It's been almost a tradition where MTV Movie Awards would nominate a same-sex kiss on screen every year. This year, there are none. Kerry Washington and Jamie Foxx for Django Unchained, Kara Hayward and Jared Gilman for Moonrise Kingdom, Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper for Silver Linings Playbook, Mila Kunis and Marky Mark for Ted, and Emma Watson and Logan Lerman for The Perks of Being a Wallflower. As you can see, all male-female kissings. So, not sure what happened with MTV this year. I guess they couldn't find a good same-sex kiss in all the movies that came out this past year. Best WTF Moment, Jamie Foxx and Samuel L. Jackson, Candyland gets smoked in Django Unchained, Denzel Washington, The Final Descent in Flight, Anna Camp from Hackapella in Pitch Perfect, Javier Bardem, Oops, There Goes His Face in Skyfall, and Ted Gets Saucy in Ted. Alright, Best Villain, Javier Bardem, Skyfall, Leonardo DiCaprio? That's what I used to call him. Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained. Marion Cotillard. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm a little French, but not really. In The Dark Knight Rises. Tom Hardy in The Dark Knight Rises. And Tom Hiddleston in The Avengers. So Dark Knight Rises has a 2 in 5 chance, or a 40% chance to win Best Villain. Best Musical Moment. This is a new award for the MTV Movie Awards this year, and Anne Hathaway is nominated for Les Mis. Channing Tatum, Matt Bomer, Joe Manganiello, the Alcide from True Blood there, Kevin Smith and Adam Rodriguez, or Kevin Smith? No, that's not Kevin Smith, that's Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash and Adam Rodriguez, all in Magic Mike, I guess the one of the dancing scenes where they're all 5 of them are on stage. Anna Kendrick, Rebel Wilson, Anna Camp, Brittany So, Alexa Snap, Esther Dean, and Hannah May Lee in Pitch Perfect. Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence in Silver Linings Playbook, Emma Watson, Logan Lerman, and Ezra Miller in The Perks of Being a Wallflower. So there's your nominees, and now I'm just going to scroll back up. The MTV Movie Awards take place Sunday, April 14th, so the week before we'll go through it again, maybe a little bit slower. I will give you my predictions then, because I still haven't had time to think them through. It's really hard, because the MTV Movie Awards are voted on by you, the viewing audience. And as I've said on, unfortunately, numerous occasions, some of the viewing audience leaves less to be desired. So, all those people watching Twilight, I hate you. Well, not all of you, but most of you. I can't stand you because you're making a movie that's crap popular. All those people that watch Paranormal Activity, I can't stand you either because you make movies that are crap, make them popular, and make them keep making them, and it's annoying as hell. So that is your nominations for the MTV Movie Awards this year. Alright. So moving on to some Guardians of the Galaxy news. As production continues on this movie, we keep getting little snippets here and there of what's going on. One thing that's been turned down is that both Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler are not, I repeat, are not in the running at all for any of the voice roles in the movie. Now, this could be a ruse, but both men have said that they have not been contacted. They are not. They have not auditioned. There's nothing being done. So that's what we know from them. As I said, this could be a ruse. Personally, I hope it's not Adam Sandler. If anybody, I hope it's Jim Carrey. But we'll have to wait and see. Nobody's been announced, so we'll have to wait and see. One thing that we can say about the Guardians of the Galaxy is that there's rumors going around because people are picking apart at that little one image that's been released for Guardians of the Galaxy, which was just a kind of an animated drawing that appeared at San Diego Comic-Con last year, and they revealed this one little panel, and they said in the background you could see these star-shaped things, and they're saying that means the Nova Corps could be joining the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, it's up in the air. It's complete rumor. The only quote I have is, I was contacted by a source telling me that after I had dinner with a friend that it is confirmed that it is a confirmed part of the Guardians of the Galaxy production team, the friend that is, whoever confirmed this, that the friend let it slip over the meal that Nova Corps were definitely a part of the movie. That's the only quote I have. Now, I mean, that's hearsay, and that's rumor, and conjecture, and every other word you can think of. That means that it's very highly up in the air. It's just not for sure. It's not anything. It's just complete rumors. So, and maybe they'll just have like a shawarma scene or a Thanos scene, and that would mean basically, you know, in the credits or at the end of the credits, depending on which scene. So, who knows what's going on there? Okay, moving on. I reported before that there was Sam Raimi was working on a script for Evil Dead 4. Well, I was wrong. Last night, the post-premiere Q&A for the South by Southwest Film Festival premiere of Evil Dead, which was the remake, directed by Fede Alvarez, and I say last night, this being March 8th. So, that was when this article was made. It was made March 9th, so this took place March 8th, this little snippet. Okay, so we found out that Evil Dead 4 was going to be, a screenplay was going to be worked on by Sam Raimi and his brother Ted, and this would follow the further adventures of Bruce Campbell's Ash character, and hopefully with Bruce Campbell reprising his role. However, according to the producing partner, Rob Tappert, who's produced, I think, almost every single Sam Raimi movie, and he's the producing partner of Ghost House Pictures, which Sam Raimi owns, they are not doing an Evil Dead 4, but actually they are directing a sequel to Army of Darkness. His quote is, "This would be Army of Darkness 2." Everybody calls it Evil Dead 4, but Army of Darkness wasn't called Evil Dead anywhere except by the fans. So us fans have just, linked Army of Darkness in as Evil Dead 3. However, they're not. They're not linking it like that at all. They're saying Army of Darkness is, yes, it's pulled right from the Evil Dead franchise, but this is what happens. They're calling it Army of Darkness 2, so it's not Evil Dead 4. They're not making Evil Dead 4. They're making Army of Darkness 2. That's what the quote is. Also, they talked to Bruce Campbell, and they asked him what would he come back to do Ash again, and he said, "Sam threatens this every 6 months. I've heard this 1,000 times because in the back of his mind he never wants to let go. Because he loved making these movies, we all loved making them together. They were a nightmare to make, very difficult, but they lasted the test of time, so he's not going to let that go, and I'm never going to say no. It'll be me and a walker fighting some other old guy, but that's what he does, and who knows, it may happen." So no matter what happens, if this movie gets written and Sam Raimi says, "Come on, Bruce, we're going to do this," Bruce is in. So we're good to go. We just need a script. Could take a while, but we need a script. That being said, we already know that the new Evil Dead remake is already in script writing for making an Evil Dead sequel, which very likely will not follow the Evil Dead 2 that we know, but could. They haven't released much. They're working on a script, so that's what's being said. Alright. For you Star Wars Clone Wars fans, I have some sad news. Star Wars The Clone Wars is ending, and a new series is in development. Lucasfilms announced on March 11th, which is today, as I'm recording this. Well, it didn't get announced as I was recording this, but it's been announced today, on Monday the 11th, that the Clone Wars is ending, and a new series is going to be in development that's proposed. The company's... they've also proposed that Star Wars Detours is going to be pushed back, and here's the statement. As we enter into an exciting new era focused on the next Star Wars trilogy, Lucasfilm has decided to pursue a new direction in animated programming. We are exploring a whole new Star Wars series set in a time period previously untouched in Star Wars films or television programming. You can expect more details in the months to come. As part of this shift, we have also made some key decisions affecting Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Detours. After 5 highly successful and critically acclaimed seasons of Star Wars The Clone Wars, we feel time has come to wind down the series. While the studio is no longer producing new episodes for Cartoon Network, we're continuing production on new Clone Wars story arcs that promise to be some of the most thrilling adventures ever seen. Stay tuned for more information on where fans can soon find this bonus content. In the video below, we're not going to do the video, but basically what he's saying is that the Star Wars Celebration last year, George Lucas gave fans a glimpse into the animated comedy series Star Wars Detours. That's pushed back. That's on hold. It's in hiatus. Whatever you want to call it. They do want to release it, but not anytime soon. So Clone Wars is done. Star Wars Detours is pushed back, and a new series is being developed. That's the bottom line. And if you're a wrestling fan, because Stone Cold said so. Alright, just a couple of releasing news. Summit Entertainment has moved the release dates of 2 of their summer films. Now You See Me, which was originally scheduled to release on June 7th, will now be released on May 31st. And Red 2, which was scheduled for August 2nd, will now be released on July 19th. So it's moving up quite a bit, that one. So Now You See Me stars Jesse Eisenberg, Isla Fisher, Dave Franco, Woody Harrelson, Morgan Freeman, Mark Ruffalo, and Michael Caine. And it's basically an FBI squad in a game of cat and mouse against a super team of the world's greatest illusionists who pull off bank heists while performing their show. So they're putting on a show for magical, they're illusionists, so they're putting on a show, but at the same time, some of those members are robbing banks. So it sounds kind of interesting. I'm actually looking forward to this. It looks really good. Unfortunately, the first time I saw the trailer was when I had to watch the trailers for Twilight, and I fracking hate Twilight, as anybody who listens to my show knows. The other one, Red 2, starring Bruce Willis, John Malkovich, Mary Louise Parker, Anthony Hopkins, Helen Mirren, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Young Hwan Lee, Brian Cox, and Neil McDonough, is basically another comic book thing based on a retired Black Ops CIA. And if you've seen the first one, Frank Moses, who I believe is Bruce Willis' character, reunites his unlikely team of elite operatives for a global quest to track down a missing portable nuclear device. So this one's going to take the crew to Paris, London, and Moscow, and they have to use all their old school tricks to try and save the world in this new aged terrorist, government-controlled, all kinds of things. And the first one was just great. I enjoyed it. It was not like a spectacular movie. It's not going to get the critics going, but I enjoyed it. I love Bruce Willis as an actor. I think that he's done some great movies. Every actor does bad ones, but I love going to watch Bruce Willis movies, so I'm going to see this one. Now, these new dates put Now You See Me against a movie called The Purge and a movie called The East. Both of which I don't know too much about, so I'm having a feeling that they moved it to have a better time slot. However, Red 2 is going up against three other movies. Turbo, which is a children's movie about a snail wanting to race. The Conjuring, and R.I.P.D., which I gave you information of last week. So that's the three movies. That's going to be a big weekend when that comes out. If one of these movies doesn't change now because Red 2 moved. So you never know what can happen. When one movie moves from one spot, another one creeps in and so on, so everything changes. I hate reporting Michael Bay news, but I have Michael Bay news. As we all know, he's making Transformers 4 with a completely new cast. He's not using Shia LaBeouf. He's not using Rosie Huntington-Whiteley or Megan Fox, who was fired from the second one. However, he's using Marky Mark, Jack Rayner, Nicola Peltz, and Bretton Thwat. Oh, I can't even say that last name. Anyways, a new cast, and there are a few original trilogy cast members who might make cameos, and one of them is Josh Duhamel, and the reason why he would work is because he was kind of a minor character to begin with. He was the sergeant, I think it was. Let me just take a quick look. No, he's a captain. He was Captain Lennox, and then there was also Tyrese Gibson, who was Sergeant Epps. And both those guys could show up in Transformers 4. So just a little tidbit for you. Look for them possibly showing up in Transformers 4, produced by Michael Bay. Alright, final bit of movie news. Star Trek 2, as we all know, or Star Trek Into Darkness, is coming to theaters May 17th, which I'm very much looking forward to. However, it looks like we may get Star Trek 3 as early as 2016. The reason behind this is 2016 will be the 50th anniversary, and we're getting a lot of 50th anniversaries in the next coming years, apparently, because this year is the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. It is also the 50th anniversary of James Bond, and in 3 years from now, we're having the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. So, we're getting up there in shows that have been around for a long time. But anyways, so 2016 is the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, the original series, breaking onto TV screens, black and white, way back when, or color, it would have been color, 66 would have been color, yeah. So, breaking onto screens back then, and the reason why they're saying this now is because there was 4 years between Star Trek, the remake, which came out in 2009, and this one, Star Trek Into Darkness, 2013, 4-year gap, even though both those movies were pushed back. And when I say that is that the one that came out in 2009 should have came out in 2008, and the one that's coming out this year should have came out last year. So there still would have been 4 years, it would have been 2008, 2012 the gap, but they're trying to cut down to a 3-year gap this time because they want to try and make the 50th year have a new Star Trek movie coming out as well. Now I say this, if you cannot push that movie to come out in 3 years, definitely have a new series on TV, and definitely go with the proposed Worf series, because that would be awesome. So, here's the statement that Brian Burke, and no, not the general manager of the Toronto ex-general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Brian Burke with no E at the end of Burke. We're definitely talking about the next one, but we haven't talked about a release date. We don't want to wait 4 years, the same amount of time between the last one and this one, but 2016 is going to be a big year to celebrate, hopefully. One of the things is that the movie will always be for Star Trek fans. In the process of all of us, 5 producers working together, Roberto Orci and Damon Lindelof, to a slightly lesser extent, are crazy hardcore Trekkies. They understand the world, so we had long conversations where they would put things in, and we would laugh hysterically. I had no clue why they were there. There are tons of references and nods, and this is in reference. I don't know why they didn't break that up. That's actually in reference to the new one that's coming out in May. But basically, they want to come out with that movie in 2016. J.J. Abrams will not be directing it because he will be busy with Star Wars Episode 7 as soon as he's done all his marketing stuff for this Trek movie that's coming out in May. I'm sure he's going to get full bore into Star Wars Episode 7. However, he will be staying on as a film's producer, which means he will have some input, but he will not be directing the third Star Trek movie, whatever they're going to call it right now, titled Star Trek 3. So that's it for your movie news. And we're just going to get into a little bit of different type of news, and that is something that interests me a lot, and that's gaming. As I said, I still don't know how I definitely want to do this section, and it's probably not going to be in every episode of Warlock Wednesdays, but when I have some information I want to report on, I will bring in some gaming news. So the first thing I want to do in gaming news is remind everyone that tomorrow, however, yesterday, for those of you listening on Wednesday, on March the 12th, is the release of StarCraft 2 Heart of Swarm, which is the expansion pack for the StarCraft 2 game. Personally, I don't play it. I'm not fond of the real-time strategy games. But for those that do and enjoy it, Heart of the Swarm would have came out yesterday by the time you're listening to this, so hopefully you picked up your copy, and if not, go out and get it. Go out and get it. Alright. This past week, meaning the 5th of March, as I said, I record on Monday, so this is not... unfortunately, I couldn't record this before because I wanted to wait until it actually was released. For those who play World of Warcraft like myself, the new patch 5.2 came out, and we have... I'm just going to go over quickly the titles of the things that have been added for 5.2. So, in content and features, we got the new raid, Throne of Thunder. We got new Isle of Thunder, which is another place to do dailies. We also got more world bosses, Nalak the Stormlord being one of them. We got advancements in the legendary quest chain. We have Tier 15 armor, Season 13 armor for the PvP fanatics out there, and also new pets and mounts that were dropped in this new patch. So if you want to check that out, you can go to battle.net/wow, not a sponsor, and you can look up more information on 5.2, the Thunder King, which is the kind of subtitle for the patch this time, and get all the information there. Or you can check out another, not a sponsor, wowhead.com, and they usually have some good information there. Now, here's something I thought was absolutely awesome. Everybody knows the game Donkey Kong, right? You're Mario, way back before he was Super, and you're traveling through these places to get up to Donkey Kong, jumping over barrels and fireballs to save Princess Peach, right? Well, a father who is also a, let's see, let's see if he says, he's a creative director at the game design studio Other Ocean Interactive, so he's a computer programmer in a sense. He basically has a daughter who loves playing video games. And the quote he says, "My 3-year-old daughter and I play a lot of old games. Her favorite is Donkey Kong. 2 days ago," and I don't know when this was posted, this is just the quote. "2 days ago, she asked me if she could play as the girl and save Mario. She's played as Peach in Super Mario Bros. 2 and naturally just assumed she could do the same in Donkey Kong. I told her we couldn't in that particular Mario game. She seemed really bummed out by that, so what else could I do? Well, what else could he do was he hacked the game. He hacked the game and reworked it so that Princess Peach is now saving Mario. That's right. So this father deserves a Father of the Year award, in my opinion, because he hacked the game for his daughter so that she could play as Princess Peach, saving the man, the woman saving the man instead of the other way around. You know, it's great because when that game came out, you would never see that. That would never happen. But now, because he was able to hack the game and he changed the he's and she's and kind of mixed them around, it was just fantastic. And another thing he said, after making his daughter happy, obviously, he said, I didn't set out to push a feminist agenda or try to make a statement. I just wanted to keep that little grin lit up on my daughter's face every time we sit down to play games together. That is great. Female gamers are definitely starting to come out of the woodwork a lot more. They're being more prominent in the community. They're being they're not stereotypical anymore. I think a lot of the stereotypes are finally going away with female gamers, girl gamers, women gamers, whatever you want to call them. I have many friends who are female gamers, and many ones who've actually appeared on shows like The Tester and King of the Nerds. Danielle, King of the Nerds and Tester, not sponsors, although I wish some of them were. They're not sponsors, but on King of the Nerds, on The Tester, friend from the World of Warcraft community, known as Trade Chat on YouTube, not a sponsor. Also, Christy Pride, she was on The Tester, and Trade Chat went on to this show called King of the Nerds on TBS, which is not a sponsor. I'm going to be saying that a lot. Okay, basically, I'm going to take a tip out of OJ and James's book. Everything I say in the next little while, they're not sponsors, but I'm just kind of reporting it. King of the Nerds was basically a show where 11 nerds from different backgrounds got together into a house. It was a reality TV show type thing, and they competed. They had nerd wars where one team would compete against another. The winning team would be safe. The losing team would have to send two of their people to what they called a nerd off, and whoever won the nerd off got to stay, and whoever lost had to go home. And this ran for 8 weeks, and the winner was a female. Her name was Celeste. Personally, not my choice. I watched all 8 weeks of the show. There was two competitors that stood out, in my opinion. My friend, I guess my social media friend. She's not my friend in real life, but she's a social media friend. Danielle, or a.k.a. Trade Chat, a.k.a. Panzer, however you know her as, if you know her at all. Her and Ivan, who is a role-playing game designer. He designed a game called, I'm going to get it wrong, Undead Outbreak, or Outbreak Undead. Oh, goodness me, he's probably not going to listen to this, but you never know. He's a role-play game designer, and between those two, I thought they had the best competitiveness. Their team only lost, I think, 2 challenges, maybe 3. I think they maybe lost 3 challenges through all 7 episodes leading into the final. So, no, they only lost 2. And I can't remember if it was 2 or 3. But basically, they only lost 2 challenges that I can recollect. And I wish I could remember. Okay, but when they lost their challenges, on one of the times Ivan got put to the nerd off, he won. It was a close one, but he still won. And Danielle, when she went to the nerd off, she kicked ass. She clobbered poor little, I think it was Joshua. Who was she facing? Brandon. She was facing Brandon, and absolutely amazed that she beat him so badly. But, you know, what can you do? He had no chance. She was definitely the better competitor. So, I'm just hoping that more female gamers, and I'm not going to find it. I can't find it right now. So, anyways, I'm hoping more female gamers put themselves out there. I know that a lot of the people who've played World of Warcraft, and now a lot of them are moving on to League of Legends, and some still play World of Warcraft. They do this thing where they record songs, parody songs, to actual music of professional artists, but they put their own lyrics in, and they do this by putting in lyrics that relate to the game that they're playing. One of my favorites, and I have many of them, is a artist known as the title Ember Isolta, and she wrote this song to the tune of let me just double check to make sure I don't get it wrong. Nicki Minaj's Super Bass. If you ever heard the song, I'm pretty sure most people have heard Super Bass by Nicki Minaj. And she called it Boomkin. Boomkin refers to a form that the druids can take in the game, World of Warcraft, and they are basically overpowered, or at least some people call them that. They're OP. And they're probably one of the best. If you can play a druid very well, they're one of the best classes to play in the game. Personally, I prefer a hunter. I'm definitely a hunter in the game, and that's what I prefer. However, what I'd like to do is play you a little snippet of her song, and this is going to be probably less than the 30 seconds again, just to be safe. However, because it's a parody and we're not making any money off of this, I could play the whole song, but I'm just going to play a little snippet, and then I'll put the link in the description below, okay?
This one is for the boys with the boomkin spec. Typhoon CC with the deeps direct. When he come up in the pug, he be blowing up. Got cast so fast you can't interrupt. And his skill is real, he even got a heal. He top charts and he got you up for the kill. Alone, he pwned, he might cyclone. He throw you in the air when you try to Hearthstone. He a mother clucking trip. Got a lot of hit. When you make it crit, you'll just wanna quit. And that's the kind of deeps I was looking for. And yes, you'll get spammed if you think you're pro. I said, excuse me, you're a hell of a guy. I mean, my, your deeps are so high. I mean, you're so fly and you don't even try it. Like, never slash cry cause you don't ever die. Oh, yes he said, I'll join your team, girl, if it's red instead. I got the best heals, I back the deeps up. Let's group up, I'll keep you juiced up. Got that moonfire spamming away. Insect swarming, starfire gritting all day. Can't help deeps that boom, ba-doom, boom, boom, ba-doom, boom, can. Crit chicken for the win. Boom, ba-doom, boom, boom, ba-doom, boom, can. Yeah, boomkin for the win.
So I think you get the idea. That's just a little clip of the song. As I said, I'll put the full link down below. I would also like to say that I would like to thank Ember for letting me put her song on here, just a little clip of it and linking it. If you do want to look up some of her other stuff, again, she's not a sponsor. I'm just, kind of thanking her for allowing me to use the little clip. YouTube.com/Ember Isolta. I'm just going to make sure that that's what it is. And just want to make the spelling right and see if that works. I'm not sure. Okay, so if you go to youtube.com and you do /EMBERISOLTI, that's Ember Isolta, you will find her page and you can look at her other videos. She does many other singing videos. She's also done vlogs if you want to follow along. Like I said, personally I started listening to her when through her WoW videos and her WoW parodies. And so that's just one artist of many, and there's many out there. She's just one that I picked out because mostly I enjoyed the song so much. So, and also it gets stuck in your head. So I'm sorry for those of you who have it now stuck in your head, but maybe you could go give it a listen and you might enjoy it. So that is that. And we're going to move on to our final little segment here where we're going to talk sports. And the first sports thing I want to do is football because we're not in season, but I have two trades to announce. The first trade is that the Minnesota Vikings have traded Percy Harvin to the Seattle Seahawks for a first-round pick this year, a seventh-round pick this year, and a mid-round pick in 2014, so probably around the 4-5 range, 3-4-5 range, somewhere in there. Probably a fourth or a fifth rounder, I'm guessing. So, 3 picks for Percy Harvin. I'm surprised at this. A little shocked because the Minnesota Vikings said that Percy Harvin wasn't for sale, but apparently he is for 3 draft picks. And right after that, being the San Francisco 49ers, traded for, get this, a Baltimore Raven. Yes. So the team that lost the Super Bowl to the team that won the Super Bowl, the Baltimore Ravens have traded Anquan Boldin from Baltimore to San Francisco for a 6th-round draft pick. Personally, I think Anquan Boldin is worth more than a 6th-round draft pick, but here's the thing. Baltimore Ravens wanted to try and get a little bit salary cap wiggle room, and they wanted to Anquan Boldin to accept a $2 million pay cut. Now, for any one of us, we'd be like, okay, because we're still making whatever millions of dollars, right? But to him, it's a principal thing. He signed a contract. He wants to get paid what he signed the contract for. And as ridiculous as some of these contracts are, you know what? That's what a contract means. It means you have to get paid. Yeah, if he really wanted to stay, I guess he could have taken the $2 million pay cut, but maybe he just didn't really want to stay there anymore. Maybe he wanted a change. He won a Super Bowl. He didn't need to continue that. So, I mean, why not move on? And move on to the team that you defeated. He's going to be a San Francisco 49er, but this was in response to the Seattle Seahawks trading for Percy Harvin, a definite receiving threat and a special teams threat. Now, he's also got health issues, Percy Harvin, but still, he's a threat. Now, San Francisco answers by bringing in Anquan Boldin. So, we'll have to see what this does when the season starts, but there you go. A couple of trades in the NFL for you. Alright, where we're going to go next? We are going to go to the World Baseball Classic. I wasn't going to do much baseball reporting until the season got going a little bit more. Like, basically, once the season starts on April 2nd, we'll probably have some baseball talk to go with the rest of the sports talk. But I wanted to mention this because the World Baseball Classic is supposed to be an exhibition of talent in the world because the Olympics no longer allow baseball to be played. The Team Canada was playing Team Mexico on March 9th, and Canada was up, I think at the time it was by 6 runs, and they bunted, which normally in a game, you wouldn't do that. It's considered unprofessional. It's considered, it's just considered very rude by the other players. And so what happened was, the next time a player came up, the Mexican pitcher, I believe, I can't find the guy's name at the moment, probably wouldn't be able to pronounce it anyways, the Mexican pitcher threw at the Canadian player and, brushed him back, hit him, maybe even. But all the reports are not about the game. They're about what happened as soon as that happened. The bench is cleared. There was a brawl. The reason why this brawl broke out is not because of the bunt or the throwback pitch. Everybody expects that when things are happening. This brawl broke out because of the rules of the World Baseball Classic. The World Baseball Classic has a rule that, you have a pool and you play each team in that pool. Canada's in Pool B, I think it is, or Pool 2 or something like that, where it's Canada, US, Mexico, and Italy. Now, how Italy fits into Canada, US, and Mexico, I know how Canada, US, and Mexico fit in. We're kind of in order, but Italy was in that group too. So anyways, and you play each team once, and the top 2 teams move on, the bottom 2 teams are out. Well, Canada lost to Italy, who they should have won, but they lost, and they were defeating Mexico big time. But They still had one more game to go, and they had to win it, and then they also had to have a high score. You need high-scoring games because that's how ties are broken. So instead of not bunting, which is what they should have done, to be what the heck is that word I'm looking for? To be sportsmanlike, to show sportsmanship. You don't do that. You don't run up the score. But because they needed to score, because they gave up a whole bunch of points when they played, gave up a whole bunch of runs when they played Italy, they needed to score. That's it. If there was no way that, if there was no running up the score, if they didn't have that rule where you have to keep getting more runs, there was no way that Canada would have been bunting. There was no way that pitch would have been thrown at the Canadian player. The benches would not have cleared. There wouldn't have been a brawl. It's bad for baseball. It's bad for the World Baseball Classic. They need to change this rule, and they need to change it now. Not yesterday, not the day before. Well, they should have changed it yesterday, not tomorrow, but now. They need to change that because it's just stupid. Okay? It's absolutely insane that they are still doing stupid rules where basically if you don't run up the score, you don't get to move on to the next round. And this would have never happened if they had just left it alone. Alright, so we're going to move on to hockey news. And this is, I believe, going to be our last little segment. Oh no, we got a few other news to go, but we're going to do hockey first. Okay, so as we do with hockey, we're going to give you the standings in both the Eastern and Western Conference, starting with the East. Sitting at number 1 in the East is still the Montreal Canadiens, 38 points. Pittsburgh, number 2, 36 points. Carolina, number 3 at 29 points. Again, that weak division, but it's kind of closed the gap now. But they have 29 points. Boston's in at number 4 with 35 points. Toronto sits in 5th at 31 points. Ottawa sits 6th at 30. I would actually want Toronto to drop to 6th just to play Carolina. Yeah. Why? Because Boston's killing Toronto this year. Toronto can't beat Boston. So actually, if Toronto could drop to 6th and Carolina stays 3rd, that would actually be a good first round matchup for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Anyways, moving on. New Jersey's in the 7th with 29 points. New York Rangers rounding out the top 8 with 28 points. All right, in the West, Chicago, they are 45 points, still in first place. Anaheim's in second, and before I continue with their 39 points, Chicago, as we've been saying for the last few weeks, ever since the season started, Chicago has not had a regulation loss. They had played 24 straight games, getting a single point in every game or more, because they had, out of the 24 games, they were 21-3. That means they had 45 points out of a possible 48. That's fantastic in this day and age. However, they have now lost twice in regulation. The streak ended to the Colorado Avalanche. The Colorado Avalanche not only beat them, they beat them pretty good. They beat them 6-2. So after the first half of the season with no regulation losses, they've started the second half of the season with 2 regulation losses. First to the Colorado Avalanche, a 6-2 loss, and then they were also defeated by the Edmonton Oilers 3-2. So they have 22 games left, and now the question is, how many regulation losses will they have? Personally, I think they will have 10 or less. They're not going to have more than 10 regulation losses, in my humble opinion. However, that could be wrong. They could go on a 24-game pointless streak. As one reporter said, Mr. Nick Kiprios, it doesn't matter how you start the season, it's how you finish the season. Yes, if they make the playoffs and if everything goes good for them, we'll remember the streak. But if they now go on a run where they only win like 4 or 5 games the rest of the way, nobody's going to remember how they started the season. It'll be just a statistic in a record book. We'll only talk about it again if something comes up where a team gets close to doing that again. Because all they'll remember is the giant collapse. And trust me, like people are like, no, they'll remember the streak. They'll remember that's huge. That's 3. No, you're gonna remember the collapse. Trust me, that's how teams are remembered. So it's how you finish the season. So if they've got 22 games left, let's see what happens. Okay, so continuing in the Western Conference, third Minnesota 28 points, Detroit fourth 29 points. Fifth place, the surging Los Angeles Kings, 28 points. And this is where the logjam is, okay? So I just said 28 points for Minnesota. They lead the division. Detroit is 29, okay? So Los Angeles, Vancouver, 5th and 6th. 7th, San Jose. 8th, St. Louis. All have 28 points. On the outside looking in, Phoenix, Dallas, Nashville, all within 2 points. Phoenix has 27 points. Dallas, Nashville have 26. So from basically 3rd on down to 11th, there is only a 3-point gap. That is a logjam. That was what they call a logjam. In that bottom, 3, 7, 6, 8, so 75% of the conference. There's like a logjam. Like, it's huge. So things can change there drastically. But like I said, the Los Angeles Kings are surging. They started off the season very poorly, but they're pouring it on now. They're actually winning tonight. This is a Monday night, as I said. They are winning tonight 2-0 against against the Calgary Flames, and they could go on to win. They're in the third period. I mean, obviously things can change. Calgary could score, but that being said, they are winning, they are surging, and this is what they did last year. They surged at the end of the year. They went on to win the Stanley Cup, just making the playoffs. Right now, they sit 5th in the playoffs, or in the seeding. But like I said, it's a logjam. Anything can happen. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. Okay. So, moving on to the 3 stars from this past week. First star goes to, as I always say, they always include a goalie, it seems, in these 3 stars. And first star goes to a goalie, Sergei Bobrovsky of the Columbus Blue Jackets. You're saying, what? The Columbus Blue Jackets? Holy crap. Yeah. Sergei Bobrovsky had 4 victories with a .77 goals against average, a 97% save percentage, and a shutout, which extended the Columbus winning streak from the previous week to 5 games. He began the week winning in a shootout. He won 2 in a shootout. He won a shutout and an overtime victory. So, I mean, 4 big wins for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and Sergei Bobrovsky's stock has gone up. I always said that he could be a good goalie. I just think he's playing on a crappy team right now, and that kind of sucks for him. Second star this week was Mr. Sidney Crybaby Crosby. I can't stand the man. I hate him. I will never like him. He had lots of points. He had 11 points, 2 goals, 9 assists. That's it for Sidney Crosby. I'm not going any further on that. I can't stand him. Jeff Carter for the Los Angeles Kings was the 3rd star. He had, 6 goals in 4 outings. And it looks like he has... He doesn't say if he had any assists, so maybe he just had the 6 goals in 4 games. That's what it looks like. Yep, 6 goals in 4 games. So pretty darn good. Pretty good run for this past week. So that's your 3 stars for the week. Moving on to statistics. And that little crybaby is all over the place here. Can't stand him. Hate him. Hate him so much. Can't stand him. Good hockey player. Hate him. Can't stand him. I would slap him if I saw him. If I met him, I don't know. Bitch slap him. Something like that. Alright, so Sidney Crosby is leading in points. He has 45. Steven Stamkos is leading in goals. Now that guy I can respect. He has 19 assists. It's Sidney Crosby with 33. Stupid idiot. Plus minus goes to Chris Kunitz at plus 21. Goaltending leaders. The injured Craig Anderson, 1.49 goals against average. He's now been out for 2.5 weeks. Who knows when he's coming back, if he's coming back. Certainly the Ottawa Senators hope he comes back, although they've been doing okay without him. He's also leading in the save percentage at .952 or 95%. Okay, wins goes to Carey Price. He has 13 wins, leading all goalies. And shutouts goes to Mr. Pekka Rinne of the Nashville Predators with 4. Sticking with hockey news, Gretzky has thrown his support behind NHL players being made to mandatorily wear visors in the NHL. He basically said that you're grown up, you have to wear a visor. You have to wear a full cage until you're in, I believe you're into the minor leagues of, like, professional leagues. Let's see if it says exactly. Okay, this is his quote. To me, it makes no common sense whatsoever that kids that grew up wearing full masks and then visors in junior hockey and college hockey, why these kids would take their masks off. It's for safety reasons. There's no reason to take it off. That's what he said. So, he also said, if I was a parent and a father of one of those kids, I would be telling them there's no reason to take them off. I agree with Mr. Gretzky. He is a great hockey player, and I totally agree. Visors should be mandatory. We've seen so many eye injuries, so many injuries due to the fact that players aren't wearing visors. They should need to wear visors. People say it's distracting. You know what? You've played through it almost your entire career until you got into the NHL and then you took it off. If you were good enough in the juniors to get drafted with the visor, you're obviously good enough with it that you could stay in the NHL and wear your visor. So you know what? Let's do this for the safety. NHL, you need to make this mandatory. Gary Bettman, do something smart for a change and do this. Get visors mandatory. Now, everybody knows, who knows me, knows I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Inherently, that means I'm supposed to hate the Montreal Canadiens. I do not. I just root against them when Toronto plays them because I'm a Toronto fan. I do not hate any team except for the Ottawa Senators, the New York Yankees, and the New England Patriots. Those are the 3 teams I hate in all of sports. I can't stand them. I hate them. I will never cheer for them. I hate people that are bandwagon jumpers and cheer for these teams just because they're winning. I am not a fan. I will never be a fan of any of these teams. And those are the only teams I hate. And then I hate Sidney Crosby, of course. I do not hate the Montreal Canadiens. However, sadly, I must report that when the Montreal Canadiens faced the Florida Panthers on, I believe, 2 nights ago, which would have been Sunday. So that would have been yesterday, the 10th for me, which would have been 3 days for you when you're listening on Wednesday. The Florida Panthers were losing 4-0 after 2 periods of play. Peter Budaj, who was in net for the Canadiens, had only faced 14 shots and was 20 minutes away from his 11th career shutout when Francis Bouillon, who is a Montreal Canadiens player, tried to clear a loose puck in front of Budaj, and instead, he scored an amazing top-shelf goal. He was trying to clear the puck. I mean, I don't want to rag on the kid too much, but it was a great goal. Too bad it was on his own net. It was a top shelfer. And that broke the shutout. And then Florida went on to score 1 more goal for a 5-2 Canadiens victory. So the Canadiens ended up winning. It didn't end up costing him the game. He did let in another goal. But at the time, it was a shutout. And his own teammate ended the shutout. And that must... I mean, the kid obviously feels bad. The goalie's like, oh my god, maybe I wouldn't have let in that other goal if I already didn't have one. It's tough. I mean, Thomas Kopetsky gets credited with the goal because he was the last Florida Panther to touch it, and he basically said, well, it's the easiest goal I've ever scored. Jokingly, he's not being facetious or anything about it. He was just jokingly. I mean, I feel bad for the guy who scored. I've seen many hockey games in my life. Some live, mostly on TV, and whenever a player scores on their own net, trust me, nobody feels worse in the entire arena than the guy who scored on his own net. The fans could be upset if it's a home game. The goalie could be pissed off. The coach could be royally pissed. The owners could be mad. Nobody's gonna feel as bad as that player who scores on their own goal. So, Francois Bouillon, Francis Bouillon, I feel for you. I'm sorry, but it's hilarious. And the fact that you top shelved it, that makes it even better. Okay, last bit of hockey news. It's from, junior hockey. As we all know, in hockey, they've changed the rules for overtimes. Before, you would have the full game, the 60-minute game, 3 20-minute periods. Then you'd have a 5-minute overtime. If it was still tie, it was a tie. That was it. Then they introduced the shootout. Okay? The shootout meant that there was going to be a winner no matter what. Like baseball, we're going to continue with the shootout until somebody breaks the tie. And basically what happens is a player from each team goes, takes a shot, not at the same time. And the reason why I'm explaining this, sorry, for those of you who know what it is, I know there's people that listen who don't know what this is, so that's why I'm explaining it. So a player takes a shot. It's like a penalty kick in soccer, only they skate and they got to score on the goalie. And if he scores, it's good, but it's not over yet. The other guy gets a chance to tie it up. And they do 3 skaters to start with. And at the end of that, if they're still tied, they just go shot for shot. The first team to score a goal and then the other team not to score a goal wins. Well, there is a shootout that happened in, let's see, where did this happen? I can't tell where it happened, but the teams involved were the Kemptville 73s and the Ottawa Junior Senators, okay? They went 25 rounds. So the first round is the 3, and then after that so that's 1 round. Okay? 24 more rounds, which means 49 skaters went up to take shots before there was a winner. This is a record at several levels. First of all, the goalie stopped all those pucks. They're to have that many shooters. I think the record before was 19. Okay, here's the little snippet here. It's safe to say it's the longest shootout in any of the Canadian Junior Hockey League's member leagues. The OHL's London Knights and Mississauga Steelheads went 19 rounds in December during the Knights' 24-game win streak. London goalie Kevin Bailey, who's now in Junior A with the Summerside PEI Western Capitals, stopped 16 of 19 shots, whereas Mississauga Spencer Martin made 15 shootout saves. The fact neither team could score is just bizarre. It was just Kemptville's 15th win in 62 games. They won the marathon shootout. It's not one that they or the 131 fans in the crowd will forget. So they were in Kemptville. Wherever that might be in Ontario, that's where they were. It's amazing to me that there's that many shooters that could not solve. Just absolutely crazy. They actually have a link to the video, so I might put a link in the description below to the video of the full 19 and a half minutes of the shootout, if you do want to take a look. And finally, before I end this show this week, I want to touch on curling. I like curling. A lot of people don't. I don't care. I like curling. This is my show. I'm talking about curling. This past week was the Tim Hortons Brier, the 2013 Brier, and my favorite curling rink is actually from Ontario, my home province, and that is Glen Howard with Wayne Madaw and Lang and Saville. They are always my favorite team. I hope he comes back next year. But, unfortunately, this year, kind of lost in the 1-2 page playoff, which basically means he finished first in the entire round robin with a record of 10-1. He only had 1 loss. And then he had to play in a 1-2 game where he would play the team that came in second, which ended up being Manitoba. And that meant the winner would go directly to the final, where the loser would have to play again in a semifinal from the winner of the teams who were in 3rd and 4th place. Well, they lost because of one bad rock, basically. It wasn't even a bad play, it was just a bad rock. And Glenn Howard missed it, and that sent him down. Manitoba goes on to the finals. Ontario went down to play in the semifinals. They played Northern Ontario. Because Ontario is so big, we have so many curling clubs, we have two teams representing Ontario. We have Northern Ontario and Ontario. It doesn't say Southern Ontario, it's just Ontario. So technically it could have been a Northern team. They're not, but they could have been a Northern team. But they try to get the Northern teams to play in the Northern Ontario playdowns. And anyways, moving on. Well, unfortunately, Glenn lost again. And he lost to the Northern Ontario team, and I was disappointed. However, that Northern Ontario team, they went on to win the Brier for the first time since Al Hackner in 1985. That is huge. That is 28 years between Northern Ontario's winning the Brier. Now, I was not a fan of Northern Ontario winning the Brier because even though I am part of Northern Ontario, as I said, I'm a Glenn Howard fan. However, I think the best team should be in the final. They were 10-1. The next closest team to them was 8-4. Okay? 8-4. It seems to me they need to change the playdowns, and if you finish first, you go to the final. And then you have the other teams battle it out to see who plays that team in the final. Because the best team wasn't even in the final, and they don't get to win. They don't even get an opportunity to win because they had to play too many games in a row, and it was tough. And then also to make them play, Glenn Howard lost the game to Ontario. Obviously, they lost to the Northern Ontario team, and then right after had to come back and play a bronze medal game. They won it. They went out. They played their hearts out. But they were ragged. They couldn't do anything anymore. It was absolutely crazy, and the fact that they had to do it is stupid. I don't think they should have a bronze medal game. It's stupid. It really, really is stupid. If you lose the semifinal, you're automatically third place, in my opinion. That's how most other sports work. But congratulations to Northern Ontario, and when they go play the World Championships in a few weeks, I will be rooting for them as they will be Team Canada then, and not Team Northern Ontario. I will think of them as Team Canada. Personally, I think there was better curlers there this year. Obviously not. He had a good team. Hopefully he can bring home the gold from the World Championships. So good luck to you. And that, everyone, is going to be the end of this show. And I hope you enjoyed it. There was a lot of information crammed in there. There was a few musical cues. There was a moment of silence. There's lots of stuff, and probably not as long as I thought it would be, but still longer than normal. However, we just go until we're done, right? So I hope everyone is enjoying the show. Remember to tune in tomorrow on Ehnother Podcast for the new Teen Talk Thursdays with Chelsea, and all the other great podcasts we have on the network here. Mondays is Ehnother Monday, Tuesdays is Real Music, Wednesdays is Warlock Wednesdays with me, Rayzor, and Thursdays is Teen Talk Thursdays. I haven't heard of what's coming yet. I know there are some more shows coming on Friday, Saturday, so we'll have to wait and see. I haven't gotten any word myself, but those 4 shows are definitely up on the network, so check them out. You can check out the archives and check out old shows, and I'm out. Have a good one. Thanks for listening to Ehnother Podcast from Ehnotherpodcast.com. Don't forget to go on iTunes and or download right from Ehnotherpodcast.com. That's EHNOTHER podcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Ehnother Podcast. Be sure to check back for tomorrow's show only on Ehnother Podcast, your Canadian podcast network. Ehnotherpodcast.com. Not a sponsor.